G'day guys, my name is Wildkard and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for following my contents, I really do appreciate it. It's 2022, we are living in the future. Where's my hovercraft? We haven't got hovercraft yet, but we are living in a pandemic. And yes, the future is not as good as we all thought. We are literally living in a dystopian society, living in a nightmare, but we are not here to talk about that today. Today is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and you know what it is? It's News Day. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world of rugby. Now, over the week, there has been more fixtures being cancelled in the URC. Pretty grim stuff. Let's quickly go through this, and yeah, I think everybody's already depressed now about this sort of news. More clashes being cancelled, being postponed in Italy. But as a result of all of these cancellations, there has been a lot of new government restrictions around the world, especially in Wales. And the biggest thing that's kind of like just over the horizon a little bit, you can almost see it. It's the Six Nation rounds going to come up. As of making of this video, the Welsh government is restricting attendance in the Six Nation rounds. And it's going to be both a financial hit and a potential, I think Biggar has been complaining a little bit here in this article that potentially, hurt the chances of the Welsh team a little bit of winning the Six Nations in 2022. Precisely because these restrictions are not imposed by every other nation. So in England at the moment, there is no restriction. And the Welsh is looking at a 50% restriction in the allowance of the 72,000 capacity in the Principality Stadium. And this year is apparently in the even year where Wales gets to play 3 of the 5 games at home. So again, a huge financial cost to Wales not able to fill out that stadium and potentially hurt their chances at the Six Nations. In contrast, as reported by this article, Wales will be going to England, and there's currently no restriction in England, so they could potentially be playing in front of 82,000 crowds at Twickenham, whilst only being able to, fill up half the stadium at about 37,000 people in Cardiff. Is it 37,000 people? Yeah, 37,000 people in Cardiff. So Dan Biggar, our favorite number 10 in the world, is complaining a little bit about how this is going to hurt Wales' chance of winning the Six Nations. And the big home advantage for Wales, especially in a year where they get so many games at home, is kind of squandered because of the restriction. And as a result of the last season's restriction, it was estimated that £13.5 million was lost by the Welsh side, by the Welsh Rugby Union. And yeah, they are having a lot of problem. Last week, the Wales Union released an open letter stating that they're going to be losing a lot of money this year. They're asking people to donate their bonds or something, essentially, basically helping them out financially for the Welsh Rugby Union. And also moving to England, Sir Eddie, the Honourable Sir Eddie Jones. Sir Eddie Jones, as we all know, he is finishing with England Rugby in 2023 after the Rugby World Cup. Eddie Jones has been asked to potentially run for the Lions Tour to take the British and Irish Lions to the 2025 Lions Tour in Australia. As a proud Aussie, that will be very, very, that would be something to have Eddie Jones coming back to Australia as a Lions head coach. And Eddie. So I have a lot of respect for Sir Eddie. And he is... But Sir Eddie, as a proud Australian, says he doesn't want to be that role. So currently, Warren Gatland is still looking good for 2025. But Eddie Jones has basically said that he doesn't feel like it's appropriate for him to be the Lions head coach. It's basically a role that he thinks it's more of a role for the northerner teams with coaches that have roots in... with roots in, the British and Irish sides in the past. So he named Greg Townsend and Andy Farrell would be great for the job. I think Andy Farrell probably going to get the job, to be honest, 2025. Andy Farrell, especially the way the Ireland team is tracking at the moment. And Andy Farrell has worked as a assistant coach in the British and Irish Lions Tour, so he knows everything about it. And just having Andy Farrell, someone so respected in the Isles of Great Britain and Ireland, I think he will be a great selection for 2025 over Warren Gallen, because Gallen, he's already had his time. I feel like someone new like Andy Farrell will be great for the role. Eddie Jones respectfully saying that he does not want to be the Lions coach. It would make a great story though, having Eddie Jones coming back home with with the British Irish Invaders to take on the Wallabies. But yeah, Eddie Jones says no to that prospect. And more discussion has been happening to Japan of potentially joining the Six Nations or the Rugby Championship. Japan, a team that performed really well in the Rugby World Cup, teetering in the edge of becoming like a tier 1 nation almost after their performance of the Rugby World Cup, and then basically falling into obscurity due to the pandemic, not played for 2 years. Coming back this year, had a very tough year in the international season. I think they only beat like Portugal or something. They had a very good showing against Wales in July. Some pretty good performance against the Wallabies in Japan. But overall, they had, their lack of game time really starting to hurt them. So their CEO kind of came out and stated exactly that. The lack of game time is a problem, and they would really like to have some more involvement in international competition. They're actually not able to, otherwise they're not able to maintain the consistency of their side. So this is definitely a thing Japan wants to look into to keep that momentum, to keep that consistency, and not just falling back to the, to a side that is basically out of contentions of the tier 1 sides. I do think that it's interesting to think, how Japan's going to work. The Japan is a Northern Hemisphere team, so will make sense from the play in the Six Nations, because Italy, honestly, they should probably be removed and have Japan in there. Will be a much more competitive side, to be really frank. They should just get rid of Italy and have Japan in there as Six Nations. But the problem with that is obviously the time difference with the British and Irish sides, and also France being a completely opposite time schedule. But then again, in the Rugby Championship, South Africa is literally the opposite time schedule as well. So not sure how that's going to work. Not sure if Six Nations would be tempted by that because of the time difference. The talks for Japan to join in the Australian side is obviously the Japan is summer during the Rugby Championship time, so Australia has to travel to Japan. I guess it kind of works out. The time is not much of a difference. It's just it could be like really hot in summer to play in Japan. But other than that, I think Japan will be a great addition to the Rugby Championship. The only problem is obviously at the moment, with no disrespect, Argentina is not a huge draw in any of the draw in the Rugby Championship matches. So having another team that could potentially not be a big draw in Australia, in New Zealand, and South Africa will be another financial hit potentially for the hosting sides. So that's something that Rugby Championship teams is kind of considering, as previously reported for Japan, as the reason that it's a bit of a, like I mentioned here, the time difference, it's a bit of a thing for everyone to kind of work out. But I think it's sooner or later, I think Japan needs to join one of the sides, whether it be Six Nations or the Rugby Championship. It's just the way that the sport needs to go to grow it further. And Japan is a huge market at the moment. They're growing massively in the domestic rugby, so it will make sense sooner or later for them to join one of the bigger competitions around the world. England had a bit of a boost going into Six Nations. So Owen Farrell had a bit of injury. He's due to resume to play rugby again for his club in late January, with the Six Nations kicking off early February. So he gets about a month he gets like a couple of weeks actually. Yeah, so we're like a month away from Six Nations kicking off actually. So literally a month away. So Owen Farrell will be expected to be back and be able to play for England for Six Nations. And also the Malo Tuilangi and Jamie George was injured, and they're also going to be expected to rejoining the team for the British for the Six Nations. So England's going to be looking strong this year, and it will be very interesting to see how Eddie Jones shuffle up the England side with Marcus Smith in the fold? Is he going to move Marcus Smith to inside centre? Something I think Eddie Jones would really want to do. And we shall see how that plays out. There's going to be a very interesting England side on display for the Six Nations. That is for sure. There's an Australian player in Japan's side. I'm not familiar with this guy, but here this is probably the biggest news that's kind of left this week. Blake Ferguson was fired by his Japanese club for drug charges after being arrested in Tokyo in Japan. I'm pretty sure these drug charges are pretty serious offense in Japan. These are they take these things very seriously. He could be jailed for this. I know the laws in Japan are much more stricter and much less forgiving. So he could potentially be, a former NRL player. So he could potentially be in a bit of trouble here. Blake Ferguson. And finally, a bit of a news. Sonny Williams was having a bit of chat to a website, ruck.co.uk. And he was talked about that his sons want to play for the Springboks. So there you go. One of the greatest All Blacks player ever somehow raised children to wants to play for the Springboks. Now, you might be asking, how can his children play for the Springboks? He's a Kiwi, currently resides in Australia. Well, his wife is apparently a South African model. So yeah, Alana Rafi, she is a South African model. So his children is 100%, what do we call it? Eligible for the Springboks. So yeah, very interesting stuff. I'm sure all of you are currently wondering what does she look like. So maybe we can let's have a look what she looked like. Sonny Williams' wife. There she is. Sonny Williams' wife, and there's his children. There you go. For all of you, I just saved you 10 minutes for Googling her. You can thank me later. And that is the news for the week, guys. Hopefully you are staying safe. We are counting down towards Six Nations. Can't wait. And thank you for watching this video, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned. Yeah, we'll stay tuned for the news next week. And the countdown to Six Nations begins. Thanks for watching, guys. And see you guys next time. Cheers.